I'll share the slides so you guys can keep up with me, but it'll probably look better if you're looking at it on your laptop.
Yeah, we have it up.
Okay, so, and when you guys are going through the slides, if you go back through the slides, I've got it set up. If you put it in PowerPoint mode or in presentation mode, where literally you can click them one at a time and move through them. Okay. So we've identified the activity. Let's talk about a specific activity right now. Okay. The activity of material handling. So we've identified an activity. Now what we have to do is estimate how many times we think somebody's going to handle that material. Okay. So if we said material handling is the number of parts. So how many parts is he going to handle during a given period of time? Okay.
Just a number?
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that's as we begin to build our allocation, figure our allocation rate, we have to estimate how many pieces is he going to move. If we're saying our cost driver is going to be the number of pieces, then we have to estimate, as a company, we would have to estimate how many, and usually those estimates are based on historical data. This guy's been working there for 20 years and he's been moving parts around on the forklift. Hopefully he hasn't been on the forklift for 20 years. Maybe he was doing some other job and hurt his leg or hurt his back and now he's a forklift operator. Or maybe it's somebody new coming in and this is his entry-level job. Okay? So after we've identified the cost for each driver, then we have to estimate the quantity for each driver. Let's see let's get it over here to this next slide. So cost allocation rate equals the total estimated cost for this driver. Okay. So how much are we paying this forklift operator for his time? Okay. And if our cost driver is the number of parts, so our total cost for material handling divided by the total number of times, our total number of pieces this guy's moved around. Let's see if my next slide gives us an example here.
Wait, where do you find the cost from?
Say again?
Where would we find the total estimated cost?
Okay, so if we're looking at, again, let's stay with the guy that's doing the forklift operations, okay? So I'm paying somebody that's a forklift operator, but he's moving materials for 5 or 6 different jobs that's going on inside my shop. So I've determined that his cost is an indirect cost. Because he's not moving costs just for one job, he's moving all of the pallets around. So for the month of, let's just say it's the month of January. So for the month of January, his labor cost is so much money. So we've estimated how much cost for that driver. Okay, so ease of numbers. Let's say I'm paying him $1,000 a month. Okay, so his the total estimated cost for that driver is $1,000 for the month of January. You following me?
Yeah.
Now we need to know how much what our cost allocation rate is. So let's say that in the month of January, we estimate that he's going to move 5,500 pieces of material. Okay, so basically what we're doing is we're calculating what is our cost for each piece of material. Because remember, ultimately, we're getting it down to the cost to produce something specific, right? So one of you pull out your phone and grab your calculator real quick. And if we're paying him $1,000 and he's moving 5,500 parts through the course of that month, what is our cost allocation rate?
18 cents.
I didn't hear you. Say it again.
18 cents.
Okay. So it's 18 cents per part. So that's what our cost allocation rate is. All right. So we figured that cost allocation rate. Now what we do is we go back and say, okay, instead of 5,500 parts, he actually moved 4,800 parts. Okay. Well, we've kind of overcalculated, but we can still apply a rate to it. So if he ends up moving 4,500 parts, and we say it's 18 cents per part, then we can figure out what we're charging. We've already figured out we're charging 18 cents. The cost on one of those parts that he moved, for every part he moves, we add another 18 cents. Does that make sense? And you'll see it in a formula we're going to do here in a little bit to see how that works out. So our cost allocation rate is the total the estimated material handling. I should have just said, let's go to the next slide. Okay. So we estimate we're going to use 6,000. We're going to move 6,000 parts. Excuse me. We estimate it's going to cost us $6,000 for the material that driver, the material handling. And we estimate that we're going to do 2,000 parts. So it's going to be $2 per part. Make sense? Kind of, sort of?
Mm-hmm.
So allocating our indirect cost. So let's kind of look at this. If we've budgeted $6,000 and it's our estimated base activity is 3,000, what would the rate be?
Just two.
It's $2 per part, right? Okay, so now let's say we've moved all of these material around, okay? And every time, now let's go back to my machine shop. Every time we have a part that moves from one machine to the other, we have a setup, okay? And let's say we've estimated that our total cost and time to set these parts up in our machine is going to cost us $3,300. Okay, and let's say we've moved 20 parts around. Well, what is our cost per setup?
$165.
$165 for every time we have to do a setup. It's $165. Okay, but let's say now we've got 5,400 parts, or $5,400 in cost for inspecting parts. I may have, 5 different inspectors in there, and my total cost for inspection is $5,400. And between those 5 inspectors, they're able to inspect 3,000 parts, or at least that's what I'm estimating they're going to do. So what's going to be my cost per part for inspection?
18.
Say that again?
18?
Because I'm not doing the math here, so I'm trusting you guys are punching the numbers in right.
I think it's 18.
Oh, yeah, 18.
Okay. So finishing. Now, again, let's go back to my machine shop. When a part is done, quite often that part would have to be, we would have to do what we call powder coating, which is kind of a sandblasting, but it's a coating that goes on the material so that it doesn't rust. It's not quite paint, but it's not quite sandblasting either. It's somewhere in between, okay? So let's say I've calculated that I'm going to spend $80,000 in finishing, okay? And I'm going to spend, and I'm doing this on finishing labor, okay? Because depending on how many parts go through there, I may have 2 parts go through there because they may be huge parts. and I may have 200 parts go through there because they may be much smaller parts. So instead of trying to do the finishing on the number of parts, I'm doing it on the number of hours that I have somebody in that booth that's doing that powder coating. Okay? So I've got $80,000 in expense. I've got 2,000 hours worth of time in there. So what's my cost per part going to be?
40.
Okay, $40 per part. All right. So let's look at this in the next slide. And this has kind of been set up here. So our material handling, we said it was $2 per part, right? And we had 6,000 divided by 3,000 parts. Our allocation rate was 2. So looks like you guys did all your math right.
Yay!
Yay! Okay. This is how we broke it all down. So if we add our costs up here, now this was somebody making bumpers. Okay? But in the making bumpers, we had material handling that went involved. We had machine setups that was involved. We had inspection parts that was involved. We had the finishing, the guy who sprays that chrome on the bumper. Okay? So our total indirect allocation rate was 143,300. Okay? And we had a total number of bumpers of 1,000. So what is our indirect cost to make one bumper?
Oh, do I have to
Just add up all the numbers, right? Hold on to our cost.
for one bumper?
Yep.
Is it 143.3?
There you go. $143.30 per bumper. Okay? So if we're a company that's making bumpers for a Ford Motor Company and we don't account for all of this indirect cost that gets involved, and we're not charging that $143 for each bumper that we sell, we're not going to be in business very long, are we?
No.
Because my guess is we're not got a markup that's where we're making more than $143 on a bumper. We're probably only making $35 or $40 per bumper. So if we're not charging everything that we need to charge, then in reality we're losing money. Okay. Okay. And we'll get there. And what if you guys have a problem? Like I said, if you have a problem, we'll work through it and we'll move forward. Okay. We can do the tutoring time and get you through the process. Okay. So using activity-based to achieve a target cost. And here's where all of this comes into play. When we use our ABC to make decisions, it'll increase our profit to meet our customers' needs. Basically, we're fine-tuning to make sure that we're adjusting our costs so that we're making the amount of profit we need, but we're not overcharging our customers. Okay? So let's look at this. We're gonna look at the traditional way and target pricing. Let's look at on the right side. Let's look at the right side of that first. Okay? So typically a company that produces something, and I'll go back to my machine shop because that's what I know quite well. So our full production cost. So we have to figure out what our full production cost is, and that's what we've been getting to all along. What is our production cost? Cost of manufacturing. Okay? So we have to calculate that in, plus our desired profit equals what we charge our customer. Okay? Now, a lot of times in this desired profit, there's other expenses that get calculated into that because this is full production cost. A lot of times that doesn't cover some of our administrative costs. Okay, some companies will calculate all of their administrative costs into their overhead, into their indirect costs. And you guys have to decide if you're running a company, especially if it's your own company, how you're going to calculate all of that. I'm a person who tends to want to know what my actual manufacturing costs are. So I'll have my revenues minus my manufacturing costs gives me net revenues minus my operating costs gives, or excuse me, it's revenues minus my manufacturing cost gives me my operating revenues. And then when I take my additional administrative costs off of that, that then gives me my net profit. In this case, this full production cost may or may not, depending on how you've set your company up, include what it costs you to produce it, including all of your administrative costs as well. Okay, for the purposes of today, we're going to add all of that in. So everything it cost me to produce something, administrative cost, everything is wrapped up in here. So if I know what my cost is, and then I add my desired profit to it, that's going to tell me what I'm charging for my stuff. Does that make sense? That's okay. Now, the other way to do it, target pricing, here's where it kind of gets depending on the industry you're in, sometimes you don't have the opportunity to set the price because you have enough customers out there, or excuse me, you have enough competitors out there that's setting the price. Let's say, for instance, you're running a gas station, okay? If your cost to sell the gas plus your desired profit tells you that you need to be charging $2.80 a gallon in order to make the profit you want to make, but you got a competition gas station on the other corner, the others, because you got 4 corners at every intersection. So you got one on one of the other corners, and he's selling gas at $2.50 a gallon. How many gallons of gas do you think you're going to sell at $2.80?
Not a lot.
Not a whole bunch, because everybody going to go across the street, right? So sometimes, depending on your business and what you're selling, you have to go for a target price, and then you have to back up from there. All right.
Okay, but
so let's say say again.
How are they going to make profit on that?
They wouldn't. Okay, but let me show you how that works. Okay, so when you're in an industry, let's say that my machine shop was in an industry where I had to work on what my price is, because let's say I had 5 different machine shops within a mile of me, and I had a customer that was buying from all 5 of us, and the customer, ExxonMobil, came in and said, look, I need you to make this part for me, and this is what I'm willing to pay for it. So we have a target sale price. We know exactly how much we can sell it for. So what we do from then is we say, okay, well, how much profit do I want to make on it? So if I take the sales price and subtract my amount of profit, then what is this going to equal? This is going to equal what my production cost has to be, right?
Yeah.
So if I take my sales price, this is the same problem, just flipped on its head. My production cost plus my profit equals my sales price.
Okay,
but if my sales price is the fixed thing, then I take my sales price minus the amount of profit I want to make, and that's going to equal what my production cost has to be. And what that does for us in business is it says, okay, now what I have to do is say, if I'm going to make this product and I'm going to make this much profit, can I produce it for this amount or less? Because if I can produce it for that amount or less, then I'm going to make more profit. But if I can't produce it at that amount, then I either have to decrease my profit or I have to raise the price. And if raising the price isn't an option, then the only real option we have is to decrease, or is to make less profit. So what that does is, and this is those kinds of companies that bid on jobs. I'm trying to think of a good. Okay, here's a good example. let's say that Calvary University decided that instead of paying Ben to mow the grass and do all the stuff he does there with groundskeeping, let's say they decided they were going to pay a lawn care company. So Randy calls a lawn care company to come in and says, okay, this is what I want you to cut. This is what I want you to mow. This is what I want you to do with all the groundskeeping. And I'm willing to pay you this much money to do it. Well, the groundskeeping company then has to back up and say, okay, well, he's going to pay me this much. I need to make this much in profit. So so I have to be able to do it for this much or less in order to make the profit that I want to make. So then he has to calculate how much money is he paying his guys that, his labor guys sitting on the lawnmower. How much is he paying for his gasoline? How much is he paying for the maintenance on his lawnmowers? How much is he paying in insurance? He has to calculate all of that stuff out to find out, can I do it for that price and still make the profit that I want to make? Make sense? Kind of, sort of. It makes sense now, but will it make sense when you're doing your homework?
Yes.
That's the question.
Wait, this is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but I'm confused how gas stations make money how do they buy it at a wholesale price for cheaper and they have to like shop around to see what's cheaper? Or even on your target pricing, how do they figure that out? Because you can't really control the oil
there's a
price.
couple of things, okay? So
Yeah.
if they know they're only going to be able to sell that gas for $2.50 a gallon,
Mhm.
and they want to make a certain amount of profit, how are they going to do that? Well, one thing is they can look for who's supplying the gas to them and say, can I get it cheaper? And instead of paying this company $1.80 a gallon for fuel, can I find somebody that'll sell it to me for $1.75 a gallon in fuel? So I'm saving 5 cents a gallon. Okay, so that's one way. Another way is, instead of having 6 employees working at the gas station, or instead of having 60 employees working at the gas station, maybe I only have 50 employees working at the gas station. So I'm paying less employees. Okay.
Yeah.
Instead of, and there's some of these things are things that you really can't adjust, but like here in the state of Texas, down here our electricity is unregulated, meaning we have one electric company provider, and that's the company that actually makes the electricity. Okay, but we've got like 100 different companies that I could buy my electricity from, because what happens is Amos Electric, who's I think is the company I use, but Amos Electric pays the electric company so much money for the power, okay, and then they charge me so much money for that power. Okay, so maybe they could find some cheaper utilities. I don't. There's a lot of different things that goes into that. The reality is that's why when you see one gas station, if the prices are going up, you'll see one gas station raises their gasoline from $2.35 a gallon to $2.40 a gallon. What quickly happens is around the neighborhood, all the gas stations end up going to $2.40 a gallon. Okay, same thing when the price is coming down. If the cost of oil coming out of the ground has gone down, which then makes the cost of the processing of the gasoline to go down, which then means that Exxon can sell this gas station gas cheaper this week than they sold it to them last week. Well, then that gas station can bring their prices back down. And usually what ends up happening is the guy who does that, usually the first guy who does it brings that gas down. Everybody starts going to his gas station because they can save a nickel a gallon. And then he may not be making as much per gallon because he brought the cost down, but he makes more money in the aggregate because he sells more gasoline. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so if you're in a business or an industry where it's targeted price, then you have to make sure that you get your desired profit. and can I produce it for this amount? If you're in an industry though where, and usually the traditional based pricing, okay, that ends up being the processes where you as a company are setting the price instead of the market setting the price.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and no, that was not a rabbit trail. Okay.
Mhm.
So we're gonna talk about just-in-time production systems. Again, you guys are probably sick of hearing about my machine shop at this point, but it's what I know. It's either that or you guys have to listen to me talk about my pizza shop. Because when I first started teaching this class, I was talking about a pizza shop. So, but materials purchased and goods completed just in time for delivery. So when I started working for this machine shop, Joey, the gentleman that owned it, when I first got there, he had massive amounts of material sitting there in his shop in inventory. And one day I walked him outside and asked him to look at the inventory and tell me what he saw. And he said, well, I see a bunch of material. What do you see? And I said, I see a bunch of money. Because you had to pay a whole bunch of money for that material. And now that money is sitting in material on racks at your shop as opposed to in your bank earning interest. What we need to do is get to a just-in-time inventory system. So I had to sit him down and explain this to him, but instead of ordering material and have it sitting on the shelf and waiting for when a job would come in that could use that material, what we ended up doing was waiting until we got the job. And once we had the job, then we would go to our suppliers and say, okay, I need this material and I need it delivered on, and usually we would give them about a 5-day window. So I need this material and I need it delivered at this time. Or sometimes we would go to them and say, I need this material, and they would say, okay, we can source that material for you, but we can't have it for you until this time. So what we ended up doing was giving our customers what we called our lag time. So a customer would order something, and we would tell them, okay, the lag time on this job is going to be about 8 weeks. From the point where you process the order to the point where I can deliver the material to you. Because we knew our supply, we knew it was going to take us about 3 weeks to make whatever it was. And then we knew our supplier was going to take about 4 weeks to get it to us. So that's about 7 weeks of time. And so 7 weeks to get the material and then about 3 weeks to make it. And then we would add about a week to it because sometimes the material was a little late getting there, or maybe we were still working on another job and we had to finish it before we could start this job. So instead of 3 weeks of production time, it still only took me 3 weeks of production, but maybe it was 3 weeks and 2 days because I was 2 days late getting started on it. So we always had to build ourselves a little bit of a buffer in there, okay? But what I didn't want to do was order that material and have it delivered the next day and then have it sitting there on a shelf somewhere for 4 weeks, 5 weeks before we ever started working on it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the other piece that we had was just in time for delivery. Now, a lot of times what I would do is if Exxon came in and ordered 100 of a given part, let's say they ordered 100 drill bits. And I knew that on a regular basis, they order about 100 drill bits from us about every 3 months. Okay. Well, what I could do is say, all right, so I'm going to produce this 100 drill bits for them for this next order. But instead of producing 100 drill bits, I'm going to actually produce 120 drill bits. And then I can take the extra 20 drill bits and I can set them in my warehouse, my finished goods warehouse, so that the next time the order comes in, as soon as they place the order, we can ship them 20 and then we can make them the other 80 to ship to them later. So we had it kind of on a rotating basis. And that way I could keep material coming in on a regular basis, and I had product to go out on a regular basis. And one of the other things that made that very beneficial is every once in a while, because they'd get 100 drill bits from me, but they might get 100 drill bits from, you know, Joe Blow here on this side of me, and from Tommy on this side of me, because they're going through 300 drill bits, you know, basically they're going through 100 drill bits a month. So if they're coming to me every 3 months and ordering 100, well, they got to get the other ones from some. But let's say that Tommy over here, for whatever reason, there was a fire at his shop and he couldn't produce his 100. So now Exxon is in a hurt. They need more material. Okay. Hey, Owen.
Text my watch.
So now Exxon's in a hurt and they need more material. Well, if I've got 20 sitting on the shelf and they come to me and say, man, we need to get the next 100 drill bits from you and we need them quick, I can say, well, I've got 20 on the shelf. Let me ship those to you now. And then I can call my supplier and say, hey, that stuff, that material that I normally got on a regular recurring basis, I want to keep that regular recurring basis, but I need to get an extra shipment of that material and I need it here in about 5 days if you can. And then I take something that's on the production line and I set it aside and rush this stuff through. Now, what does that do to the customer that's on the production line and I've set his stuff aside? Well, sometimes that customer is, you know, I can call that customer and say, hey, you know, I need to be, you know, 5 days late getting you your order because of, you know, another rush job that I had come in. And a lot of times those customers are like, okay, because they're ordering it in time so that they've got plenty on hand. So a 5-day delay, that they were fine with that. But by having 20 sitting on the shelf, I could get my customer what they needed right now, and that gave me time then to order the material so that I wasn't having to keep all that material on a shelf somewhere where I've already paid for it and it's sitting out there rusting, as opposed to ordering it, getting in just when I need it in order to make it. Does that make sense? Okay. We're getting the material and put it into production, and we're doing that, we're timing that so that it's coming out of production just in time to meet our customers' needs. Okay, so a just-in-time demand system. Okay, this is kind of going to repeat what I just said. So we receive our order from our customer, we schedule our production. Okay, we get our defect-free material delivered by our suppliers just in time for it to go into production. And like I said, in my shop, usually just in time ended up being about 1 week before I was ready to put it into production. And that gave me some maneuverability, and it also gave me a little bit of extra time to make sure that if I had a supplier that couldn't get me the material, I had another job sitting there that I could work on while I was waiting on that material to get there. And we're finishing it just in time to deliver it to the customers to meet their needs. And just kind of a graphic to show you the same thing. We're going to get the material in, we're going to put it into production. So we're going to cut it, and then we're going to shape it, and then we're going to smooth it, then we're going to grind it and finish it and put it off into finished goods to sell it. Cheesy little slide, but okay. Some of the problems with just in time, okay? If we have a customer that's ordered it and we lose the sale, or we could lose a sale if our material doesn't arrive in time, or maybe our supplier sends us something that was bad. Okay, and that happened to me a couple of times where I had a part that we had to inlay copper into, and the copper that they sent me, when we had the copper tested to make sure it had the right amount of the different components in it, the copper didn't meet the right specification. Well, if I had built that copper into the process, then I might have lost my sale because I either didn't get my material or I got poor material, and I couldn't put my office into production in time. Okay, one of the things that makes you form is very strong relations with the quality material vendors. Okay, if you're working just in time, you don't work with vendors that are sketchy as to whether they're going to get you the right materials or the quality materials. You work with people that are going to give you, that you know are going to supply quality materials in a timely manner. Okay? And then some companies have very small inventories for critical materials. Okay, and that kind of where I was going back and telling you those drill bits that Byco, when I decided to start putting 20 on the shelf, that was because I knew that I needed to maintain a very small inventory of critical parts so that if Geico came to me and said, I need them and I need them now, I could simply go pull them off of the shelf and we could put them into, we could get them to the customers in quick time. Okay, so when you're working a just-in-time management system, you have to take all of those different things into consideration. Okay, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back from the break, we're going to go into the book and we're going to work an exercise. Okay, so it is 8:56 now. Let's go ahead and take a 20-minute break, 22-minute break, come back at 8:40, and then we'll drive on for the rest of the class and be done instead of taking 2 breaks, okay? Okay, I'll see you guys back at 8:40.
8:40?
Excuse me, 9:40. Duh.
9:40?
Because it's right at 9 o'clock, right? Yeah, 9:20.
Okay.
Thank you. My math isn't working right today.
That's all right.
9:20.
Oh my God. Let me go back to my dorm.
Okay, I will see you in 23 minutes. And 20. All right.
Well, honestly, I would rather like end early than come before you.
Are you guys back yet? You hiding off camera somewhere? Hey, Owen, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Hey, the stuff that you missed, where you came in a little bit late, just go back and watch the video. Now, fortunately, the girls did remind me to turn the recorder on, but I missed about the first 15 minutes, or
That's
maybe
okay.
the first 10 minutes on the recording. So.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, my computer was just having trouble with the Teams app, so I wasn't able to join. So I just got rid of that, re-downloaded it. I was able to join, so that's.
Yeah, not a problem. I think I went back and anything that was critical on that first minute or two that we didn't get, I made sure I covered it. But
Okay, cool. Sweet,
so
thank you
when
so
the
much.
ladies get back, what we're going to do is we're going to finish up the slides, and then we're going to open the book, and we're going to do a practice where I'm going to be working on an Excel spreadsheet, and you guys are going to be telling me what to put in the Excel spreadsheet. As kind of a practice exercise towards what you guys got to do for homework.
Sweet, that's fun.
I find that this is usually, once we get to this point in the class, this is usually one of the best ways to do it, is for me to go find one of the problems in the back of the book that I didn't use in the homework assignment. And then, but it's similar to what we did do, and so we'll just kind of work through the process.
Awesome. Wow, they're so late.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's one of the problems with the breaks there on campus, is if another professor is giving a break at the same time, you can run into lines over at the coffee shop.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I tend to try to do mine at odd times. Like at break at 15 minutes before the hour or 15 minutes after the hour. But we ended up breaking right on the hour, which is when a lot of the professors break. So what I should have done was kept going for about 10 minutes and then taken the break from 9:10 to 9:30 instead of 9 o'clock to 9:20. But the material we have, like I said, we're gonna be done well before 11 o'clock today. So taking a little bit longer break, I'm okay with. You guys will find that most of the time that I very rarely take the full 3 hours.
Yeah.
Was there a line over at the coffee shop, ladies?
There was, and they only had one barista.
That's what I was just telling Owen. Because we took a break right at 9 o'clock, what I should have done was kept going until about 9:10 and took the break from 9:10 to 9:30.
Yeah.
So, all right. So what we're going to do is let me get back to my slides here.
This is magic.
And we're going to finish out with the slides, and then what we're going to do is go into the back of the book, and we're going to pull a couple of the assignments out that I didn't put in the homework, and we're going to work those assignments just so you guys get an idea of how to do this process. So what'll end up happening is I'm going to put a blank spreadsheet up on the chart, and you guys, meaning all 4 of you, are going to help me fill out the spreadsheet in order to get the answers. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Yes,
I
sir.
think if we do that, it'll give you a heads up towards what you need to do with the homework assignment. Okay?
Okay.
So let me start sharing this slide again. So let's look at exercise 3-11, and I've got a slide up here for it. Basically, it goes through and it helps you identify, is it traditional or is it just in time? Okay, so if it's production batched that we do in large bases, it's production. Oh, I can't read today. Sorry, my dyslexia is kicking in. Product production in large batches, typically done in a traditional manner, okay? Because again, let's go back to that plywood company that we were talking about. And the plywood, the guy's going to get the sheets that go in that get glued and stacked. He's going to get his glue. He's going to get all the, because he's just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Okay. So that's going to be a traditional base where they're going to bring stuff in. It's going to sit there and they're just going to pull it off the shelf and use it. Okay. Large stocks of finished goods to protect against loss of sales. Okay. Again, anytime you've got large amounts of finished goods sitting there waiting to be sold, if you don't already have a sell for it, a contract for it, that's typically a traditional method. And again, that's so that you don't lose sales, so that when that order comes in, you've got it, you can sell it right now. Okay. But where your suppliers make frequent and small quantities deliveries of material. Okay. That's just in time stuff. So that's kind of where I was going back talking about the guys that brought me the metal for making the different parts that I make. Okay. Those guys, sometimes I'd have this, there was one specific company that delivered material to my shop probably 3 times a week. Okay, because the only day we were closed was Sunday. So usually I'd get stuff coming in on a Tuesday, and then on a Monday, and I'd get more stuff coming in on Thursday, and I'd get some more deliveries on Saturday, just simply because of the timing. And they were willing to work with me and do that. Yes, there was a little more expense in the delivery because I wasn't getting it all delivered in one shop where I was only paying one delivery fee. But by having it delivered that way, I didn't have to dedicate nearly as much land space at my operation towards storing product. But I'm not going to insult y'all's intelligence. You guys can read this chart and move through it on your own, figuring out, how that stuff goes down. Okay. So using the 4 types of quality cost making decisions. Okay. Total quality management. This is more one of those FYI things for you. Okay. Total quality management, where we're continuously working to improve the quality of our product. And the purpose for that primarily is to make sure that as we're moving forward, that we're giving our customers the best quality product we can give. The areas that fall into total quality management is prevention. Okay. One of the easiest ways I can talk to you about prevention is making sure that you have quality materials that you start with. Like I told you, that one job that I had where my supplier gave me some copper that didn't have all of the right qualities to it. Had we gone ahead and used that copper, it may well have done the job just fine, but it wouldn't have met my customers' requirements. And they lay those requirements out very specifically because they've tested to determine exactly what materials worked best. Okay, appraisal, and again, so that was, when that material came in, we had to test it to make sure it met what it needed to meet. Okay. Internal failures. Okay. Internal failures is where we have our inspectors inspecting stuff to make sure that before it leaves our shop, it's a quality product leaving our shop. We would much rather find it before it leaves the shop. And then the last one, but one that's still very critical, is a lot of times you'll have external failures where you'll send a product out to somebody and it fails. How many of you guys have ever ordered anything, gone to Sears, gone to Target, gone to Walmart and bought something, and as soon as you got it home and went to use it, it broke?
Yep.
Okay. What do you end up having to do? You got to take it back, right? It's costing you time, it's costing you effort to have to take it back. It's costing Walmart or Target or whoever money, and that they've got to either refund your money or replace the product. And it's much better if we can find those failures internal, especially if we're a production company, whether we're manufacturing company, no matter what we're producing or manufacturing, we want to find those internal before they get out to our customers. Okay, so that is the end of the slides for today. I'm going to click on and we're going to watch a video so that you guys will hear another guy describing the same stuff that we went over today. You'll hear him describing it. He's going to use some different examples, and sometimes what I found is that listening to somebody else describe it it'll give you guys a better understanding. Let me see if I can get this to play right. There we go. And of course, we got to listen to the advertising. You guys seeing the video? Give me a thumbs up if you're seeing the video.
We
Okay.
can't hear it though.
Oh, here. Look.
Are we supposed to go to this?
Can you all hear that okay?
No.
We can't hear it at all.
All right, let me see what I got to do. This is the first time I've tried to play the video. All right, you guys have the slides open?
Yeah, I have it playing.
Owen, do you have the slides open?
Yes.
In this video, we're going to talk about
No, but I can get that right now.
She has the video.
Okay,
The video too.
okay. Why don't y'all turn your microphones off? You guys play we'll leave the video recording going because I'm gonna play it. Hopefully the people that are watching the video will be, well, I don't know if you guys can't see it. But you can't see it in the classroom. Can you, Owen, could you hear it at all when I was playing it?
Like very quietly, but yeah, it was very quiet.
Okay, so you guys play it. For those of you that are watching the video at home, the very last slide in the slide deck for today has a link. I want you to play the video. Okay, so you guys play it. We'll leave the recording going. And once you guys get done watching the video, then we'll work through the exercise. It's about a 22 minute video. Okay, so so that we don't have the competing sounds going. You guys turn your microphones off, mute your microphones, and then play the video. You always watch it in the classroom. Oh, when you watch it, those of you that are watching online, you guys watch the video at this point, and then we'll come back. Owen, give me a thumbs up when you're done watching it, okay?
All right, sounds good. Thank you. All right, I just finished up.
Okay, lady should be back with us in just a minute.
Sweet.
Did that help it make any more sense?
Yeah, it did. It was really interesting. Because you can make decisions based off of like the activity rates that you find. So
Yep. And that's that whole intent. That's the reason we use this type of a process.
yeah, I mean, it kind of seemed like in the video you could make more since there wasn't that many customers for tents and there was a lot more for backpacks and they were making the same amount. You could instead make more backpacks and less tents and still get a better.
All of that works into that decision-making process that we as managers have to go through.
Yeah.
Now, that's not necessarily to say you stop making tents, because most of those people buying backpacks are going to want a tent from time to time. But
Yeah.
maybe you make twice as many backpacks as you do tents, or maybe you make 4 times as many backpacks as you do tents. Hey, you're not supposed to spill the coffee.
I
That was
know.
awesome.
It happened as soon as I was trying to turn the computer back on.
That's coffee abuse.
I know.
Amen. We're in the home
We
stretch.
just wanted to turn it on so you'd know that we weren't
Well,
slacking.
You have
Yeah.
a nice clean table now, right?
Exactly.
That would you learn. Lots.
All right, ladies. So Owen and I was talking a little bit. What'd you guys think of the video? Did it help explain it a little better?
Yeah,
A little
it was nice to hear it from a different perspective.
There you go. Okay, so all right, I'm sharing my screen. You guys see a blank Excel spreadsheet? Okay.
Yep.
So open your books and let's go to problem 3-3 in the book.
Wait, where are we going?
We got
Which one are we on again?
3-3.
3-3 on page 123. At the very top. Okay. So Durkin Corp is considering the use of an activity-based costing system. The following information is provided for the production of 2 product lines. Okay. So it says the setups, their total cost in setups, they anticipate to be 107,000, and their total cost in machine maintenance, they estimate to be 50,000. So their total indirect manufacturing cost is 157,000. You guys following that?
Yep.
All right. So it says for product A, the direct labor is 7,000. The number of setups is 30. And the number of machine hours is 120. Okay? Our requirement is to compute the ABC indirect manufacturing cost for each product. So I'm going to start this off and I'm going to put a header up here. Now I'm just guessing how many columns I need. So I'm going to come over here and say I need about this many columns. And I'm going to merge that, and in here I'm going to put DURKIN Corp. Okay, you guys saw I did that, right? Because at some point, if you have to build something, you're going to need to understand how to do this. All right, and then I'm going to come right underneath that on the next line, and I'm going to merge that one, and I'm just going to put ABC costing model, because that's what we're building is a costing model, right?
Yep.
All right, so let's look at the information they've given us. we're going to transfer. I'm going to take these first 3 blocks and I'm going to merge them. Now let me show you guys another little trick that when you're doing this, once you have a block merged like that, you see this square here in the bottom? If you put your cursor over it until it makes a small little plus, and then you left click and hold, you can drag that down, and it will, whatever you had in that first block up there, it will duplicate that all the way down. Okay? Keeps you from having to merge every time you're trying to do something. All right, so now I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to do setups. And below that, I'm going to put basically I'm going to transfer the information from the book onto here, okay? Maintenance. And then all right, now look. You see that doesn't quite fit in there, right?
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that block and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to tell it to wrap text. And by clicking on that block and telling it to wrap text, what it does is it wraps it around, drops it. So then I can make this block just a little bit bigger and I have all of that information in that block. You guys see how I did that? Okay. On Austin's computer, turn the microphone off.
Okay.
There you go. Other than that, we're going to get that echo ring because you guys got the broadcast system going in there. Okay? Now, the other thing we could do if we didn't want that to wrap like that, when you've got something wrapped, I can click on that and I can come up here and tell it to unwrap, and then I can come up here and I can grab one of these boxes up here. I can see how I can make that box a little bigger, so then it all fits in there. Okay, so it's a couple of different ways to do it. You can either make it wrap, so you can make a bigger box going down and put the second line of information in there, or you can grab one of the boxes across the top and make it a little wider so that it all fits. Okay, so now we're going to come in here and oops, look. So what I did was I forgot to leave a line in there for me to put headers for my columns, right? So I'm going to click on the number 3 and I'm going to right click and I'm going to tell it to insert. So it just inserted another line. Do you guys see how I did that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I can come in here and I can say cost. And we said, the book said that our total cost, okay, here's another thing. I think I showed you guys this on the very first day, but since we want all of this to be accounting stuff, we're going to highlight those 3 blocks and we're going to right click. We're going to come down here and tell it to format cells, and we're just going to go accounting. Right now, they're not using any decimal points, so they're not using any change, so we can tell it 0 after the decimal. Okay, so now our cost is $107,000. And see, it'll put the $sign and the comma in there for you. And our machine costs is $50,000. And then our total cost was $157,000. Okay. Now I'm going to combine a couple more boxes here. And I'm going to put cost driver up there. And then it says for the cost driver, it's the number of setups. And for the machine maintenance, it was machine hours, right? Okay, so all I've done is transfer the information from the book into our spreadsheet. And the reason I did that is because here in a minute, we're going to have to start doing some calculations. And I wanted to have these numbers there so that I could just click on them to do our formulas. Is everybody tracking with me so far?
Yep.
Okay, so it says we got to compute the cost per unit for each product, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to say this is going to be product A. And we'll come over here and say this is going to be product B.
Wait, do we have to do anything with the total?
What's that?
Do we have to do anything with the total numbers? Or are they just there to throw us off?
I don't know. We'll see. Let's see if we can figure it out.
Okay.
Okay? So, the first thing we have to do is figure out what it is. So we need to know the total cost per unit. Well, in order to know the total cost per unit, we're going to have to do some calculations, right? So what's one of the first calculations we're going to have to do?
I'm guessing we're gonna have to start off with setups and divide the 107,000 divided by 7,000.
Oh, so hang on just a second. Your question about the totals, are they important? They are, because the 7,000 and the 3,000 are due with that specific line. So you were tracking exactly right, Emma. We're going to have to take the 107,000, but we're going to divide it by the total number of setups that we're doing.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to come out here on the side somewhere, and I'm going to put cost per, and below that, I'm going to put setup, and
that,
below that, I'm just going to abbreviate, and I'm going to put MM, oops, fat fingers, MM for machine maintenance. You guys tracking with me there?
yep.
Okay, so what's our total cost per setup for an individual setup? So you were on the right track, Emma. Tell me what math I'm going to do.
I'm Austin, but I'm gonna take.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're just fine.
You guys traded places on me, didn't you?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Hair.
Sorry, Austin.
Oh, you're fine. You're gonna take the 107,000 divided by the 10,000.
Okay, so this block is going to equal this divided by, and I didn't type those totals in there, so we're just going to type that in, divided by 10,000, right?
Yep.
Every setup we do is going to be $10.70. You tracking with that? So
Yep.
Owen, what's our machine maintenance going to cost us?
Our machine maintenance would be 50,000 divided by 100.
Okay, so this block is going to equal the 50,000 divided by 100, because we got 100 machine maintenance hours, right? So for every machine maintenance hour, we have, it's $500. So these totals are going to come into play as we start to do individual product lines. Okay, so for product A, they've told us that our direct labor, and I'm just going to use DL for direct labor, is how much? How much is our direct labor for product A?
7,000.
Okay, so it's, and what's what I'm going to do? I'm just going to, again, I'm going to make it easier for me so I'm not having to hit the dollar sign and everything real quick. I know these are all going to be dollar amounts, so I'm going to click and I'm going to tell it I want accounting, no decimals. It's got the dollar sign symbol. Okay, so we know this is 7,000, right?
Yes.
Because the book tells us, the story problem tells us what that is. And for product line B, it's what?
3,000.
1,000, okay? So our next line down are number of setups. Okay, so what do you think we're gonna put in here for product line A for number of setups?
30.
How much?
30?
Well, no, we're needing to get the dollar amount that product A is going to use in setups. So what do you think we got to do?
So are we gonna multiply 30 times the 1070?
Correct. If we know it cost us $10.70 for one setup,
Yeah.
this is going to equal the cost of one setup times how many setups are we doing?
30.
So for product line A in our setups, it's going to cost us $321. So Owen, what do you got? What are you getting this for product line B for setups?
Yeah, that would be the same. 70 times 10.70.
Okay, so this times, and it was 70.
Yep.
All right, so the next line down is what? Machine hours, right?
Correct.
Machine maintenance hours. Oh, when you get to answer the first time this time. So you've been working product line B. So what's our total cost for machine maintenance hours going to be for product line B?
So for product line B, wouldn't it be 3,800 times 500?
Correct. So we know that for one machine maintenance hour, it's $500. And we're going to multiply that by how many machine? It's 3,800 machine hours for product line B, right?
Yep.
Okay. So ladies, what are we going to get for product line A?
1,200 times 500.
Okay, so the 500 times. Okay, so our requirement here. Now this is the last portion of the product or of the story problem, and this is where folks tend to mess up. Durkin plans to make 35 units of product line A and 225 units of product line B. Now, this is what it's costing us.
Wait.
Okay. So this is our direct labor cost to make it. This is our indirect cost. This is our indirect cost. So what we've got to do is come down here and we're going to say, our total manufacturing cost. So how am I, Owen, how am I going to get my total manufacturing cost for product line B?
So wouldn't you just add all that together?
Right. I'm going to add my direct labor and my setup costs and my machine maintenance hours. So this is going to be this plus this plus this plus this. So for product line B, we have a total cost of $1,903,749, right? So ladies, how are we going to get the total cost for our manufacturing for product line A?
Add the three numbers together.
Okay, so this is going to equal this plus this for a total of $607,321, right? So if we want to know what our ultimate goal is to compute the ABC direct cost per unit for each product. So cost per unit. So how am I going to get my cost per unit for product line A, ladies?
In the story problem, when it says that Durkin plans to produce 350, is that what he did? Like that's what we're calculating?
Yeah.
Or I get confused. So what we're gonna do is take that number divided by the 225. Nope, kidding, just kidding. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be 350 divided by the total manufacturing cost?
Yes, but again, and knowing this was the same problem you had on your last homework, you're flipping the numbers. Anytime you're trying to figure out the cost per unit, you have to take your total cost divided by your number of units. So for product line B, this is going to equal our total cost divided by, how many units did we make?
For product B was 225.
So divided by the 225. So for each individual product, it costs $8,461.11. Cool? So ladies, the same thing here. This is gonna equal our total cost divided by the 350 units that we made. So for this one, our cost per unit, oops, I got a typo over here. Our cost per unit is $1,735.20. Now, did you guys see how I got that?
Yes.
All right. And the reason that's important is when you get to, I think it's problem 3-4 that's in the homework, the same process is going to have to be used in order to get your answer. Okay? It's a little different as far as the numbers and the story problem, but the process is the same. The first thing you have to do is figure out, this is my total costs. To get my indirect cost, I have to know what my total cost is divided by the number of times I do it to get my cost per setup or my cost per machine hour. And once I know what my cost per setup and cost per machine hour is for the company, then I can go back and say, okay, for product line A, I'm going to do it how many times? So I take that cost times how many times I'm doing it, add those together to get my total cost for that product, and then to find out what my total cost for an individual item of that product is, I take my total manufacturing cost divided by how many times I make that product to get what it costs me to make just one of them. Clear as Mississippi mud for you now?
Yep.
Okay. So, if you guys want, what I can do is you want me to save this Excel and post it to the assignment for today, just so you have it as an example?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will save this and I will just post a link, or I'll put it in there somehow, but I'll put it in the assignment module for this week's lesson.
Can you put it in as a sheet instead of a PDF?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Whenever you post it in there, can it be as a sheet instead of a PDF?
Well,
Like, can you just link the sheet instead of like screenshotting and downloading into a PDF?
oh yeah, because what I'll do is I'll save it just like your homework assignment gets saved, so it comes up as an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, that'll work perfect.
Yeah. So I'll name this and save it, and then I'll put it in the files and just put a link on this week's assignment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's really a whole lot of question as far as the homework assignment this week. I will tell you, however, this week will be, even though some people say it's not necessarily the shortest homework assignment because one of the problems is kind of in depth, okay? But you only have three exercises to work on this week. And the reason I do that is because this week, not only do you have this homework assignment, but this week you also have your first quiz that's due, okay? And that quiz will reach back and look at everything we've done in chapters 1, 2, and 3. Now, my suggestion to you is do this week's homework first before you try to do the quiz. Because if you work through the homework exercise, obviously it'll help you then when you get to the quiz.
Yeah.
All right? And they're both due by the time we come to class next week. So my suggestion to you is that you work on your homework and try to get it done by Sunday evening or Monday. And then that'll give you Tuesday and Wednesday to do your quiz, or maybe try to get the homework done by Sunday so that you got Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to work on the quiz if you need it. Again, homework assignments, open book, open notes, open slides, open buddies. I have no problem with you guys working together in like the ladies, the three of you working together to do your homework. Okay, got no problem with that. Just understand that if you work together and you make a mistake, you're going to all get this the same mistake most likely. Okay. But when it comes time to do the quiz, it's no longer open. It's still open book, open notes, open slides, but it's no longer work with your buddy. I need you to do it. I need you to do the quiz individually so that I can see where you stand.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
You can do
And
that.
like I was telling you guys, and Owen, you didn't hear this, and I don't think anybody on the tape heard it because I don't think I saved it. I don't think I'd started the recording at that point. But the folks tell me that have taken this class that getting through these first 3 weeks of the class is usually the most difficult because very few of you have any idea what accounting's all about. So basically, I've spent the last 3 weeks teaching you a new language. As a result, the first 3 weeks tend to be the most difficult part of it because you're trying to learn a language and not only learn the words in a language, but how to use those words and put them together in sentences that make sense. Okay. When we get into chapters 4, 5, and 6, yes, I'm still throwing new terms and stuff at you, but the processes tend to start making sense for folks more when we get into weeks 4, 5, and 6. Because now we're taking that stuff that we've learned and we're starting to apply it to things that we can relate to. Okay?
Okay, nice.
Good luck. Get your homework, like I said, get your homework done first. And what I will try to do is get on every night over the weekend and grade homework assignments so that you guys can hopefully have your homework assignments graded and back to you before you start the quiz. If you get your homework assignment turned in and you feel comfortable enough and you want to just jump right into the quiz before you get your homework 3 assignment graded and back to you, go for it. I will also tell you that if you've gotten some lower scores than you wanted, don't panic. As we get into weeks 5 and 6, the homework assignments have some extra credits on them, have some bonus points on them that you can take to bring some of those scores back up. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, everybody did the pre-course test, which gave you 15 extra points.
No.
And at the end, we're going to have a modified version. A lot of the questions will look the same. They're slightly different, but we're going to take that same quiz at the end so that I can see how much you guys grew from the beginning to the end. Okay. And that's another 15 points. So by taking those 2 quizzes, that's 30 extra points. Okay. So there are some bonus points coming up on homework assignments. And there are, you do have the 30 points you can get from doing the quizzes. So don't worry about the points at this point. Trust me. Typically, what happens in this class is everybody, well, not everybody, 98% of the class either gets an A or a B. I have about 1% that'll get a C, and then I have about 1% that fail, and the only way you can fail in my class is to just not try. Okay, as long as you're willing to try, and even like I said, even if we have to do some one-on-one tutoring, I'm fine with doing that too. You just got to contact me and set up the time. Now, ladies, I have a time set up for you guys for the weekend, and I will communicate with you then. But everybody so far, as I'm getting the homeworks in, everybody's doing pretty good. You make a small hiccup here, a small hiccup there, or turn the numbers around and do the math in the wrong order. And that's just a matter of repetition. The more times you do it, the better you'll get at it. Okay? So you guys have a good week. And don't forget, you have a homework assignment and a quiz due this week. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Yes,
You
muchas
too.
gracias. Adiós. Oh. Oh yeah, it's just us. Ah, shoot. I'm gonna have to pee again, dude.